So now we get into the working groups. So, for the working group, which is a workshop actually, on alternate data sources and use cases, I would like to invite Mr. Prasad Krishnamorthy. He's a technologist at heart, an engineering graduate from Madras University. He spent last 25 years creating technology solutions to solve real-world inefficiencies. He's a core team member in the Perfios team for the last 12 years. He's been active part of its growth story, working closely with industry experts and developing multiple solutions across the BFSI space, bringing in his data and technology expertise to usher in true transformation to the business processes. In his current role as the head of Perfios Insurtech Solutions, he is bringing core capabilities of Perfios to provide solutions across the insurance industry. Thank you. And I would also like to now call upon Hetal Shah, partner at PwC India. She is also kind of managing the One Consulting data analytics practice with over 18 years of experience, specializing in data management solutions, and is responsible for the strategy and growth of the FNS DNA group in PwC India, specializing in insurance and asset management sectors. She presently manages a team of professionals who focus on strategy and implementation of large data and analytical platforms, including traditional on-prem data, premises data warehouses, big data, and cloud-based solutions. She has authored articles and white papers, participated as a panelist at industry events, and imparted training to industry bodies. So the workshop is all yours.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, this is a little bit high for me. Hi, everyone. A lot of introduction given for me, so I don't want to spend time on that. Honestly, I think with this, Sumit has already given a background of the paper that we had jointly written with the India Insurtech as well as the IIA. So I think that also doesn't need an introduction. And this time we thought that why should we be the sufferers? We already wrote the paper. We already have presented, I have kind of created the deck as well. So we wanted you to work. So what we thought is that let's come out with a creative workshop kind of an arrangement which will indulge everyone rather than just like having a one giving session kind of a thing. So we also have a deck. We just present 5 minutes, and then I would like to invite the co-working group party as well here so that we can all kind of indulge in the workshop. Sumit, I think, has already given a beautiful excerpt of what we have already done. And then we also have very senior members on this panel. And I would also like to invite my team member, Sahil, who has done a great work in pulling all of this together. And from the industry, we have KS, Abhijit, and Anjani, who have volunteered today, both for the paper and for the session as well. Thank you, everyone. Quickly, I think just delving down. So because in this workshop, primarily two concepts which are fairly new have got introduced. I will just kind of briefly take a minute to explain both of them. So the first one is called parametric insurance. I think Sumit has already covered that well as to what does it mean. It's a insurance which is like a fixed benefit kind of an insurance, and is generally given by a trigger which applies to a large mass. So imagine like if there is a flood and you have taken an insurance before that. So if that flood occurs, that hits, and then basically the claim gets settled with a fixed benefit to all the people who have availed for that insurance. So that's about the parametric insurance. Now coming to alternative data, I think we have heard a lot in the past few sessions about alternative data. Won't dwell too much upon that, but just two aspects from my side. I think while the whole alternative data is seen in a way where it's associated with individuals and their information about what they are doing, how is their, and to derive some proxies around income proxies, their affluency proxies, we should not also forget that there's a large part of the data which is available at an aggregated level as well, which can also be used. So just for example, I was just speaking to someone who said that we have a very good government website called data.gov.in, which essentially gives more than 1.45 lakh of APIs with which you can connect and get the data. So for example, it gives pin code-wise crime data, pin code-wise suicide data, pin code-wise accidents, which might be helpful for you to model and do the pricing for an insurance. So I think both the personal as well as aggregated level informations are also quite useful. As another example, I was just speaking with a client who's also very keen to use alternate data, and we were kind of speaking to the likes of a public cloud provider, who again has a lot of insights around the user behaviors. So I mean, the way that they work is while they will not give individual information, of course, without the consent, but they're ready to give you cohorts of data or similar profiles of data to derive affluence proxies. I think this is a very important concept to kind of say from your transactions of what you do on your on your Amazons or your Olas to derive, say maybe your affluence proxies, or maybe say take your income parameters and then kind of derive proxies around that, which is very fairly useful in the concept of insurance to not just do selling, but also to kind of assess the risk associated with the community largely, with the region largely, and not just with the person. Yeah, I think Sumit also talked about the whole framework that we have developed. So I think while alternative data, of course, is the buzz and everybody wants to use it, but there are a lot of challenges also associated with it. So the first challenge, which at least I feel and I have seen my clients struggling, is around using the alternative data. Often at times it comes unstructured, and you don't know whether how much return of investment you will get on parsing and then kind of utilizing that data. So if it comes in a manner which you are able to easily consume, how are you readily able to parse that data and utilize it for your use cases? So that's the first, I think, problem statement, which is more to do around how do you get unstructured data and then parse it and then use it for your use cases. The second, of course, I think has been spoken about before as well, which is to do with the whole privacy thing. The whole DPDP Act, which is going to come in, is going to stricten the norms as much so that you won't be able to kind of get access to your personal data, which is not within the realms of usage, basically. And I mean, there are some dark data providers which are available, but would you want to associate with them because they might stop or they might be not allowed to give you data going forward? So I think that is also an important aspect to kind of look at. The third is often that does the data have very sparsely populated, is it very sparsely populated? Does it have many nulls? So the aspects around those, which is more to do with how do you kind of get the data, the quality of the data, the reliability of the data, and then kind of processing them further. Does it have, like if it has too many nulls or something, you'll not be able to use it. So how do you kind of measure that while you're evaluating a source, a data source, is also one of the primary things that we wanted to kind of highlight here. The next is around the cost. So often I think there are providers which give you either individual or maybe at aggregator level as a pay-as-you-go model, which is a subscription model, which is the model that you would want to kind of refer for. And then there are some who says that, okay, give me a one-time payment and then we'll kind of do ahead with it. So I think both the models have their own pros and cons, and it's up to us to evaluate what's right for our use case. And the last is the predictive power. I think that's also very important because whatever that we are choosing this data source for, is it really going to be useful for me to derive ROI in my use case? So I think the cost associated with acquiring the data source and processing it versus the way that I'm going to use it and derive benefits from it has to be totally evaluated. So our framework that we have created together as a joint party has close to about 8 dimensions, which you're seeing right now, has close to about 40 plus parameters, but of course we won't bore you with all of them in the workshop at least. And then it has to be also looked at as a contextual use. So you have your use case in mind. You have to see that which data source is applicable for that. So it has to be very contextual in that way. And the benefit of this is that whatever judgment that you have in your mind, whether this data source is going to be useful to me or not, is not just like intuition enough. It's going to be backed by data. With this framework, you'll associate some scores with it, and hence it's a finite, measurable way to identify whether this source is going to be relevant to you or not. With this, I think we are all geared up for the workshop. I think 2-3 things that we want to kind of clarify here. You all would be having papers on your tables right now. We are sorry we had only one paper. One whole paper there, which is there, just called a pre-read there. So what you are supposed to do, you have in your own tables of groups that you have to kind of dwell upon to think of any parametric insurance product across the categories given in Appendix A. You can refer the paper and you can see there's an Appendix A. You can go to any part of the insurance category and then select whatever that you want category of the product that you want to choose for. Post that, you think of any parametric insurance. If you don't know, we are here to volunteer and we'll be kind of supporting you on that to envisage ideas about what a parametric insurance can be for. So I think that's the second activity, to choose a parametric insurance within your group. The third is we have given you a sample reference list or an illustrative list of around 25 data sources. That's also there in Appendix B, I believe. So you have to just go to there and see all the different alternate data sources listed there. And from there, choose any one, which will be applicable to your product. Once you choose that, you will have to kind of evaluate that with the framework that we have. And we have given you an abridged version. There's a QR code here on the screen. You have to just scan the QR code and you will be able to fill that survey. The outcome that we want from this is obviously not accepting a framework or giving you a dump of the alternate data sources or parametric. I think the idea here is more to just kind of acclimatize yourselves to use a framework to evaluate a data source. And having said that, I mean, we are pretty open. Just have your creative hats on and think about any type of product that you want. Need not necessarily be parametric for sure. And also think that this alternate data source will be applicable to me across any part of the value chain. It doesn't necessarily even need to be as a claim trigger. I mean, it can be in any part of the value chain that you can think of, and just put your creative hats on. That's it. Yeah, we'll be there around the tables to help you on. Sorry, but just before that, I think we have Prasad also to kind of speak on the whole alternate data perspective.
Thanks, Hetal. So to help with the workshop, I'll just give some brief intro of the data, right? So we've been talking about it for some time. So I'll just give one more dimension so that it'll help with this workshop. When we talk about data, right? Say, for example, not just a parametric, but the pay-as-you-drive kind of motor policies. Now, that depends on certain data that comes from the telemetry of the car. And I think in the last IIA event, the CEO of Hetal Energy was mentioning that basically a scooter generates a few terabytes of data every few months, right? So that is immense amount of information or data, to make it simpler, right? So what is needed when while creating these policies or these products or anywhere in the value chain where you want to fit this information is to pin down on the specific insights that will help with underwriting or that will help with the product creation. While the data is available, so you have lots of information that is available as listed in Appendix B, but what would help while preparing this is some of the things that was discussed in the last few sessions from by Sahamati and from Ram, are that specific intelligence that is derived from this data that would fit into the product that you are creating. For example, for satellite imagery for crop insurance, okay? So while there is, so satellite imagery for crop insurance, you get a daily dump of about 1 meter to 1 meter, in some cases 5 meters to 5 meters square of the particular lat long, right? So the area that you want to look at. While that information itself is humongous in nature, right? So while we can, easy to say that data can be used to do something, I think a bit more definition in saying that if the trend, say for example in the last few years, we know there is a certain trend in good years that so satellite data also gives information across different channels, so which means visible, infrared, and so on. So I know that in good crop years, over the course of the year, what is the change in the image, right? So which says, okay, now it is highly reflective, when there is standing water in a rice field, then there is green, the green increases, then it becomes yellow, then it becomes brown, right? So there is I'm making it very simplistic, but that sort of gives a pattern on how, on a good year, the satellite imagery would be, so that if a variation occurs, right? And that is what you need to know, that a variation has occurred from the norm, maybe because of a flood or a drought or any other calamity, which then can trigger a claim in a parametric insurance. So one thing to look at it, and that is what is defined in some of the cases in Appendix B, are the specific insights, whether it is with respect to the demography, the personal profile, a financial profile, or a risk profile of the person, or a health of a person, or an entity, or an asset, right? So maybe drilling down into a particular intelligence point. Thank you.
I think we can start the workshop, and it's due to complete in like 45 minutes, if I'm not wrong. 35 more minutes, okay, sure. It won't take so much of time. You just have to quickly fill the survey at the end. It won't take more than 5 minutes to fill the survey. And we are here to help you. All the volunteers will be around your tables. I would request the the people sitting at the back to also join the people in the front.
Minutes around 5 p.m., which means that you should now be somewhere in the step 4 and step 5 at this point in time. If not, you would want to move quickly to last 2 steps. I'm sure some of you would be working on filling the forms. We have another 10 or 12 minutes. Yeah. And hopefully by that time you are able to finish it.
A lot of intense discussions are going on the tables. So maybe in the next 5 minutes, can we wrap up the discussions and you can start submitting your responses. Just in the interest of time, we just want to kind of move on and ensure that you can salvage a little bit of what is left of the Saturday. We still have a lot of things happening for the rest of the evening. So 5 minutes, please. Let's start wrapping up and submitting the responses. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see everybody so engrossed in this activity. We didn't expect this kind of turnout as well. We have got close to about 16 responses on the survey, which is a very good number. Thanks for that. I think we can close this activity. Thanks for the work that you have done. And this was just like a starter to understand the framework and apply it for the data source. Thank you.